Apple.
Apple.
Apple. Apple.
Alligator. Aeroplane.
Ball.
Boy.
Ball. Ball. Ball.
Butterfly. Car.
Dog.
Dog. Dog.
Duck. Dog. Duck. Dustbin.
Impressive.
Him.
See, it is so ingrained in our brain that A is for apple, B is for ball. You've been looking into the box. You've been looking at the textbook, and I think entire generation would be answering the same if I'm not wrong. I think the exposure that she gets, the kind of people that she meets, the kind of interactions that she has, I observe there are teachers who go out of the way to tell certain things. Still think don't stick to very basics. But then, like, I tell him shapes which are like very basics. But one fine day he just comes up and tells me like, "Mom, this is hexagon." I'm like, I was shocked. Jumpstart, school, the learning center, everything. That has been a fantastic choice that we made for me, and we're very happy about it.
At Jumpstart, I see that the kids are given a different experience. They are shown those particular things in person. They get that opportunity to maybe touch it, understand it, and that's how they remember it properly.
So I couldn't imagine a 4-year-old kid telling me what photosynthesis is all about.
So when we started with Jumpstart, what I saw is getting things on her own.
I'm more than happy with the way she has shown the results after that. I didn't put her on purpose. Anyway, she would learn ABCD twinkle twinkle later also. But what she learned at the right time, I'm more than with that.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. We are glad to see all of you join us today. We are going to start in a few minutes as we are expecting a few more people to join in. I hope you are comfortably seated and ready to be a part of this session. We will be starting in 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you so much for your patience. Good afternoon. Hi, I'm welcoming you to this introduction session. My name is Heta Merchant and I work with Jumpstart Preschool and I'm going to be the host for your session today. So let me just introduce myself a little, but before that, I would wish to have a good start with a mutual greeting. As we all know, when we are on a Zoom session and we want to have it disturbance free, we mute all the participants who are not going to speak. So currently, if I have to listen to you or if you have questions that need to reach out to me, I need you to type them in the chat box. So let's try it out. Can I see all of you just typing a good afternoon on the chat box? And I know that you know how do you pass on your messages to me. So just take on your phones, click on the chat option and just type good afternoon. Let me just see you do that. Okay, I am awaiting. Okay, I'm getting private messages on the chat box for a good afternoon. Good afternoon, all of you. Um, Let me tell you a little bit of an idea about how, why, and how we thought of having this session. Uh, we have been working in this industry for quite some time now, and the typical mindset that we listen from the people who are a part of or not a part of this industry, is that the minute you talk about you working in a preschool industry, the general perception or the notion thought is, oh, preschool, teacher hogi. And that has been a word which we listen left, right, and center. That thought of understanding that it's not just a teacher and there is lots that a teacher is doing with respect, plus along with that, teaching is not the only post available in a preschool industry. In fact, we have less people where we genuinely need them. We need people as teachers, of course, but we need curriculum developers, we need center managers, we need counselors, HRs, and we need people at different positions that can help preschool industry come up to its best potential. So with that thought in mind, we came up with a program called Early Childhood Expert Program. So that is the reason why it is not a teacher training program, but it is an early childhood expert program. And this program is actually put together keeping this thought in mind. The session today is to actually explore what's actually happening around the world in this industry, as well as coming down to what actually this program is going to be all about. I have spoken to some of you already before you were a part of this call or this session, and some of you are meeting me for the first time. I think I should be introducing myself first, right? So, I come from Mumbai. I have been born and brought up there, and I have done my master's in human development from a University of Mumbai, Nirmala Niketan College. That was after doing a bachelor's of home science from SNDT with a specialization for developmental counseling. So I've studied child development since my college days. And since then, I have been working at different posts with different kind of profiles. So I have handled a daycare center as a daycare coordinator. I've been an education consultant wherein I was actually designing lesson plans for standard 1, 2, and 3. And I used to train the teachers to conduct those as well. I then moved on to being a center manager in Pune after I got married. And for 2.5 years, I have handled a center with young children. Currently, I'm working with Jumpstart Preschool as the academic program manager, wherein I take care of the academic curriculum development, the teacher training, as well as assessment of teachers all around. And I'm really glad and happy to have this opportunity of conducting the early childhood expert program. So this has been a little introduction of what I do and how I do it. But I want to actually share what's in my heart before I go ahead with this session. Uh, it didn't come to me like, okay, I need to be a part of this program just like that. While I was in my 11th and 12th, I took up arts. To give you a little history, my father wanted me to take up commerce because I was not that great with regards to my marks, and commerce was the best option at that point. Somehow it didn't call me. I was more interested to take up something where I get to work with people and with children, and I knew commerce was not the way. I managed to get admissions in arts at Mithibai College of Mumbai, if you have heard about it. And then while I was studying my 11th and 12th subjects, psychology was a part of it, which called for my interest. And I actually felt that I want to do something wherein I not only make money for myself or make a career, I also contribute my bit to the society. So when I chose psychology and I started studying, I began to understand a variety of options available. And with that came to my hands the developmental counseling program at SVT. And today, if you look at my career track, I started with a daycare coordinator, which was a small little center with about 15 to 20 people. While working with those 15 to 20 children, I tried to apply the knowledge I had learned, and I was still into that learning phase of implying whatever I have picked up. When I kept moving up the ladder and I kept handling different situations and different possibilities of working in a preschool, what I realized is the best way to impact children is to impact teachers, because eventually it's the teacher who is bringing such a vast difference in the child's life. So I decided to do something for teachers, and that's how I came up with the Early Childhood Expert Program. So let's understand how this program is affecting teachers and in turn affecting children all around us. Because here it is not only about the little children, it is also about building a family with our own family members. As you groom yourself, you impact your family members too. So I'm going to share a little bit of PPT here, which will give you a lot of insight into what is going on. I'm just going to start the screen share. Yes. So let's understand the early childhood education as an industry first. This industry is not very old. At the same time, it is not as new as like we don't know anything about it. Uh, we had Mr. Bill Gates, all of us knows who Bill Gates is, say that the first 5 years have so much to do with how the next 80 turn out. That's the simplest way I feel we can communicate what this industry is all about. Like the first 5 years, actually there is so much growth and development happening. There is so much of understanding of knowledge that a child goes through. If we put in our best kind of experiences and opportunities for children at that time, we are shaping his life for the next 80 years. And that is what people in the early childhood education industry do. uh, in this industry, you will find women taking major role. However, we now see a change in the trend, and we see some places some men coming up as well. So why should do you think we should be giving so much importance to a early childhood education system or a pre-primary school? It is not only a priority or a situation to consider in India, but also globally. There are many countries in the world who now recognize that the right kind of education system in a preschool setup is going to impact the way they study in high schools and later on in their careers. So, this is what the UNICEF has to tell us. The Children's Emergency Fund that developed in the UNICEF says the access to pre-primary education needs to be a global priority because it becomes a strong foundation for learning. Like we just discussed, the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s are taught in preschool. The ability to read, the ability to write is taught in preschool. Preschool is where we learn to be self-independent. We learn to eat by ourselves. We learn to be toilet trained. We learn to do things all by ourselves. And therefore, it's the basic foundation for learning. It makes education systems more effective and efficient as well. If we exactly know what we need to follow as a structure and we are able to live up to it, we are going to be in a much better organized industry. This can also be an effective strategy for promoting economic growth, because the children of today are going to shape the economy and the future of the country. So actually, investing appropriate kind of time, effort, and money in a preschool industry can change the developmental trajectory of children by the time they enter the school. And that's a big statement to make. Although true, the full potential is yet to be explored. So actually, we all would agree by now that early childhood education is actually the key to the betterment of society. We are working something right with the roots rather than working with the fruits, and that is how this industry helps. So I would like to show you a little video here about how this industry is working. Let's have a look. Just give me a second. I'm sharing the screen. Yes.
Some children have a better start in life than others. Some get to go to preschool, where they gain valuable skills, while others do not. In preschool, these children learn, play, imagine, create, socialize, and build the foundations for future learning. But half of children who should be in preschool are missing that opportunity. That doesn't have to be their destiny. Giving every child a high-quality early education brings enormous benefits for society and is the key to a better future. But most countries are still far from reaching that goal. There are three big challenges countries will have to tackle. The first one is ensuring equitable access. Preschools should be free and available to all children. Governments should prioritize early childhood education in their education plans, and education policies should break down equity barriers to reach all children, including those living in poverty, in isolated communities, with disabilities, or affected by emergencies and conflict. Another huge challenge is ensuring the quality of preschool education. Governments need to build sustainable systems for early childhood education that can deliver quality at scale. This includes setting and meeting quality standards, growing the workforce, and ensuring support to all preschools so they can provide quality early childhood education. Finally, countries and the international community will need to make early childhood education a budget priority. Governments should allocate at least 10% of their education resources to early childhood education to develop strong preschool systems. And donors should reallocate their investments to ensure that at least 10% of their education funds are focused on preschool, and that these funds are used to catalyze and complement public resources. These changes won't happen overnight. If we're going to reach the goal of universal access by the year 2030, we need to take immediate and bold action to place all children on the path to success and address the global learning crisis at its roots. Governments, donors, partners, teachers, families, and communities. Together, the time to act is now. For more information on how to be a part of this,
So this is what the world is talking about right now. A big change to be brought into the preschool industry, considering the benefits of investing the time and efforts in an early age. And the world is moving towards their goal of making early childhood education as one of the primary sectors or an important sectors into their economies by 2030. Without a high quality early education, these are the risks that the children will go through. And this comes research based. About 25% of the children who don't have appropriate high quality early education are more likely to drop out of school. 40% are more likely to become a teen parent. 50% is more likely to be placed in a special education sector. 60% more likely to have never reached up to college. And up to 70% might also be involved in a violent crime. This is what research has to say about the lack of early childhood education. So here are some facts and figures for us to know where we stand right now. So this is a 2018 database. 9.3 million, that is 93 lakh new teachers are actually required to be able to achieve a universal pre-primary education as discussed by UNICEF. So all over the world, we have a demand for appropriate and good quality teachers in a preschool industry. And out of the ones that are already working as teachers, only 50% of them are actually well trained, which means even the ones who are currently working need a lot of guidance and training to be able to uplift their skills. The question now is not whether we can afford to invest in every child. The question is whether we can afford not to invest. If so much importance is there for a child at that age, between 0 to 5, which is our preschool age, why should we miss out on a single opportunity to even take a step forward? So let's look at a little bit of the status in India. What is happening today with regards to this industry all across India? There are about 160 million children who are age 6 or younger, who exceed the entire population of Japan. That is the number of preschool aged children in India as of today. The demand for early childhood care and education system is increasing and diversifying in India day by day. The challenge is there is no official framework to regulate ECC activities in India, and that is causing a difficulty to make sure that every child in India is getting a good quality education system. There's no legal framework that specifies requirements and standards of an ECC teacher training program in India. So if you actually go to check, there are about 1500 teacher training programs that are running all across the world, maybe a little more than that. Uh, in India, if you go to different institutes and different companies who are offering this program, everybody has prepared their own curriculum and are making the system work according to what they think is best. The problem is, or the challenge is, we don't have one body who is communicating what should be the basic need, what kind of a training should a teacher have, what qualification is important, etc. And therefore, everybody is working in their own little segment. There are a lot of NGOs in India who are trying to do their part as well. So there are some NGOs run by individuals or some religious organizations, etc. And all of them are working towards helping the society in different ways. These are the names of a few NGOs who are very, very famous and are active all across India. We also have Early Childhood Association. Now the rest of them, the Make a Difference, Teach for India and Pratham, they etc. They are actually working directly with children, trying to teach them and upgrade their skills. The Early Childhood Association is the one who has come together with about 2000 plus preschools all across India on board, wherein they are trying to design policies and suggest protocols to follow while we are teaching children in different particular classes or subjects. So what is happening with the Early Childhood Association is, till the time we have a government body taking charge of this industry and supporting us with regards to the right way, we as a part of Early Childhood Association are actually teaching and cultivating appropriate methods of education system all across India. So ECA has been very, very active all across India to train teachers, hold conferences, suggest methods of teaching, the protocols to follow. To give you a latest example, within 2 weeks of the lockdown being announced and the schools were shut, ECA has come up with two different documents. What the preschool teachers need to do during the lockdown to help children use this time effectively, and how do you transit them back to a regular school along with the protocols that a preschool should follow. So this is the kind of work that Early Childhood Association is up to, and I'm proud to say that the management of the Jumpstart School is very well associated with Early Childhood Association, in the sense that our director is a national level player, a core team player with Early Childhood Association. So we all agree that the human brain develops most rapidly between birth and age 5, making preschool years a crucial part of education. It is so damn important to give appropriate focus at that time, actually, because up to age 5, on the fifth birthday, the child has actually spent 1825 days of their brain trying to get information. Children at that age are like sponges. Whatever you give to them, they're going to keep on absorbing in that. And we have 1825 days. Can we afford to lose these days? We, of course, cannot. So here's a little bit of introduction or a suggestion between what if we just become a teacher versus what if we get trained and then work as a teacher. A typical teacher who is hired because there is a vacancy and we don't have enough trained people and somebody has to take the charge would actually focus more on completing the curriculum and syllabus. We all would have at least one teacher in our life who we could sense that, she doesn't care if I have learned. What she cares is the subject should get completed. Unfortunately, today that is the status in India. A trained teacher's focus is actually on making sure that each and every child is developing and progressing, maybe at a different speed, but the child has to learn something new. A teacher probably may not be formally qualified, whereas a trained teacher usually has a trained certificate with her. A teacher might work for salary and job benefits, but a trained teacher The teacher who takes the pains and the efforts to actually learn and get herself trained is actually having the passion to make a difference. And that passion in itself becomes an important reason which drives her along her way in her career. The teacher career growth becomes limited and slower because we know that they are on the job, but there is not appropriate knowledge, there is not appropriate training that is provided, skill development we are doubtful of. Whereas a trained teacher, there is a scope for career growth and there is also a scope to move up the hierarchy. So there's a myth in the industry that once a teacher stays a teacher always, which is not true. I myself have changed my career path or rather profiles 4 times in the last 10 years. And I've had people around me whom I have seen move from a teacher to a curriculum developer, from a teacher to a center manager, from a teacher to an HR. I've seen people change and pick up on different careers once they have upskilled themselves enough. A teacher is usually hired because there is a need or a demand, not because she is good at something. Like there is a vacancy, the schools have to start functioning on 13th of June, and if we don't have anybody, I rather have somebody. Whereas a trained teacher stays in demand because the kind of quality output that she can give out is always valued. So there is respect earned and there is skill set which are valued in the industry by a trained teacher. So teaching is actually a profession that creates all other professions. And that is why having an appropriate state of mind and appropriate knowledge, appropriate skill set to develop somebody else into that becomes important. See, it's easy for anybody to decide that I want to learn something and pick that up by themselves. So if you decide to learn swimming today, you will find all the ways to learn swimming. But when you are trying to work to help somebody else learn something new, the challenge is a little different. The challenge is you have to work on your own willpower to support somebody else upskill themselves, be it a 5-year-old or a 2-year-old or an adult. If you have the skill sets and if you have the passion to work towards this, only then you will sail through successfully. So let's look at one more video to understand how much a preschool educator can impact in a child's life. This is a case study video wherein we have Mahatriya explaining an incident about a child, Thompson, and how his life changed by having an appropriate teacher. So let's look at this video before we move ahead.
Saturday will go, Sunday will go, and Monday will come, and you'll go back to the class. And like this teacher by name Mrs. Thompson entered the class for the first time. And she had this habit of starting her class by saying, "Love you all." But she knew she was lying because she could not feel that love for one of the students in the class who was very unkept, untidy. And there was nothing in the child that drew attention from Mrs. Thompson. She was little indifferent to the child. She picked him for every negative example and ignored him for all the positive reasons. That year, she had written the progress report for the first quarter. And it was a system in the school that the headmasters have to countersign every progress report. The headmasters called for Mrs. Thompson and told Mrs. Thompson, a progress report should report some progress. It should make a parent feel my child has a future. The way you've written the progress report for Teddy, that is how he was called. The way you've written the progress report for Teddy, parents will give up on Teddy. Mrs. Thompson immediately said, there's nothing I can do. I have nothing positive to write about the child. Immediately, the headmasters asked the administrative staff of the school to trace the old year progress reports of Teddy and send it across to Mrs. Thompson's class. Mrs. Thompson saw the third standard progress report, and it was written, the final remarks, Teddy is the brightest child in the class. She was stunned by what she read. She saw the fourth round progress report, and progressively all the remarks suggested that Teddy's mother was suffering from terminal cancer. She is not able to give the attention she used to give to Teddy, and it's just beginning to show up on the performance of Teddy. The fifth standard progress report read, Teddy had lost his mother and along with that himself. He desperately needs help, otherwise we will lose this child. By then there were tears in the eyes of Mrs. Thompson. She looked at the principal and said, I know what to do. And she went back to the class. Probably it was a Monday morning. She walked into the class and again from the dais of the class, looked at the class and said, love you all. But she knew she was lying. The love she was feeling for Teddy right now was far, far greater than the rest of the class. She decided that she is going to change her approach. For every positive reason, Teddy's name was called. There was no more a negative reference to the whole thing. The last day of the school came. All the children had brought some gifts for the teacher. There was only one gift which was wrapped up in an old newspaper. Somehow, the sense of a teacher, she could knew that it must be from Teddy. She opened that first. A half-used perfume bottle and a bracelet from which a few stones had already fallen was there. The whole class laughed, knowing it was from Teddy. But without saying anything, Mrs. Thompson just took that half-used perfume bottle, sprayed it on her, wore that bracelet. With a quarter smile, it seems Teddy told, now you're smelling like my mother. This is the last perfume that she used before she left me. And this is what was removed from her body before she was taken into the coffin. 1 year later, end of the school, end of the year, there was a letter on Mrs. Thompson's table. I've seen few more teachers, but you're still the best teacher I've ever seen. With love, Teddy. Every year till the end of the year, Mrs. Thompson used to get this letter from Teddy. I've seen few more teachers, but you're the best teacher I've ever seen, Teddy. Years rolled by, they lost contact. Somewhere an agent traced Mrs. Thompson, who had retired by now, and handed over a letter. And the letter was signed, Dr. Theodore, PhD. Teddy had gone on to become a PhD. And the letter read, I've seen many more people in life. Mrs. Thompson, this is your Teddy. You're still the best teacher I've ever seen. I'm getting married. And I cannot dream of getting married without your presence. Along with that enclosed were to and fro flight tickets. Mrs. Thompson couldn't resist. She no more had the perfume bottle, but she still preserved the bracelet. She wore that and went to the church. She was trying to sit in the last row, but volunteers identified and ushered her right to the front row. And right in the front row, there was a seat with a placard written, Mother. Theodore personally asked Mrs. Thompson to sit in the chair and whispered, you're the closest to my mother that I've ever experienced. And whatever I am today, it's because of you, ma'am. The wedding happened, and after the wedding, Theodore introduced Mrs. Thompson to his newly wedded wife. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am today. There were tears in Theodore's eyes. It seems Mrs. Thompson told the newly wedded woman, without Teddy, I would have never realized a teacher must first be a mother to every student of hers and only then a teacher. This is just my request to all of you. There is a Teddy sitting in your class. When you go back to your classroom on Monday morning, there is a Teddy in that class, and you can be that Mrs. Thompson. Please, on Monday, don't go back to the institutes as a teacher. Go back as a parent who can also be a teacher and be a turning point in the life of those children. You plus me, I believe
we can build a new world.
So that is the power of actually being able to impact the life of a child. And many a times we don't even realize that we are playing such an important role. Let's go ahead to understand a bit more about this field. So, before we actually discuss anything, let's take this 1 minute to remember our own favorite teacher. We would have come across many teachers, but we remember any one teacher as our closest teacher, the ones that we would still want to spend time with. And please share which is that one quality of that teacher that you still remember. I would request all of you to type your answers into the chat box, please. Please take a minute and type in your answers into the chat box. If you'd like to have a talk instead, you may raise your hand, you may put the raise hand button and I can help you with that. Okay. Shruti, would you like to share about your favorite teacher?
Sure. So, Heta, I was third, and she was my science teacher, and her name was Aneet Kaur. The best thing I remember is no matter how bad I was in studies, she always gave me a pat saying that, you'll do great in life. And I still remember that words spoken by her. And she's one teacher that, I really miss.
Great for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Shruti.
You're welcome, Heta.
I'm so sure all of us have teachers like these, and we rarely remember them actually. I'll still request one or two people to share what's in their minds. Shubhra, can we have you talk about your favorite teacher? Shubhra, can you please go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. At present, actually, I don't remember because actually I have impact of many teachers on me.
Would you want to share about any quality of your teachers that you really appreciate?
Yeah, one thing I appreciate is that the way they used to talk. And one teacher used to always tell us that pronunciation should be very good. And I actually made it a point that whenever and wherever possible, that I pronounce the words and everything accurately. So that was one thing she always taught me that. And one thing is that she said, always be presentable. It's not necessary you have to be beautiful, but be presentable.
Right. So you still remember for years later on the suggestions that you came from your teachers. Okay, I'm going to request one or two more of you to share over here, please. So can I have Rim Shah? Rim, would you be comfortable just sharing about your favorite teacher or the quality of your teacher?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, I want to share. I have my preschool teacher, Mrs. Desai, and she's very loving and caring. She always motivate us. She always motivate us, and she talk very nicely to all of them. She's so partial with all of students. Thank
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you for sharing, Rim. I'll just request one more person to share and then we'll move forward. We have Arjita. Arjita, would you be comfortable to share, please?
Hello.
Yes, Arjita.
Yes, ma'am. In my preschool time, my teacher always gave each one of student on their favorite things. Means like if I like red color tiffin, so she gave me always red color tiffin. If other like pink color, then pink color tiffin or favorite books.
Right.
That's.
So you remember your teacher because she used to always give you the favorite things that you like to do. So, all of us remember something about our favorite teacher, and honestly, more than the things that they did or the way the things they said, it is about the kind of feeling they left you with. You know, I think most of you would agree. We have come across many teachers, and we know a lot of teachers were good teachers, but somehow we couldn't develop that kind of a connect with them. The teachers who could build a connect with us are the ones who left us an impact. So let me share with you about my favorite teacher as well. This is my school English teacher who later on moved to become a principal of a school as well. I still remember she was a Bengali lady with a lovely sari that she used to wear every day, and big bindi, and she used to walk into the classroom, and the way her tone of voice and the volume was, it was so soft. I never felt like she was a superior to me. I felt like she was a friend to me, and I could ask my questions without any fear. And that is the reason why I remember her. So when I interact with my colleagues, or when I conduct the sessions and I interact with them, I somewhere take that feeling with me that I want my team, or when I want the people I teach to feel comfortable in reaching out to me, and that is the quality I remember. So this one quality that we remember in our children, in our teachers, the children would want to remember things like that about us. And that one quality that we leave with the children, that one reason why we connect with our children, is going to be something for which the children would remember us for lifetime. And that is why it becomes important to give this profession and to give this kind of a career its due advantage and its due focus. So let's move forward. Like we just discussed, the influence of a good teacher cannot be erased. They would always remember. They will forget the names, they'll forget the content that is being taught to them, but they'll remember how the teachers make them feel. And therefore, a teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where the influence will stop. That is the kind of impact a teacher would have in the child's life. So we had done a little bit of survey to figure out what kind of a teacher is required today. So if we look at the times when we went to preschool and times that we are in today, the methods of teaching have completely changed. We no more have memorizing of things. We don't only simply look at books and pencil, but there are a lot more things to do. So this is a little survey that we did with our own children and parents to see the difference in the education system of the preschools. And this is what we found out.
Apple.
I did aeroplane.
Ball. Ball.
Bird. Butterfly. Water. Bucket.
Cat.
Camel. Cup. Car.
Heta?
Dog.
Duck. Drum. Duck. Dustbin.
That's impressive.
Wow.
Okay. See, it is so ingrained in our brain that A is for apple, B is for ball. We've been looking into the box. We've been looking at the textbook, and I think the entire generation would be answering the same if I'm not wrong. I think the exposure that she gets, the kind of people that she meets, the kind of interaction that she has, I observed there are
Video again. We are not able to see it.
Sure, I apologize for the technical error. I will start it again.
apple.
I did aeroplane.
Shruti, if you can confirm that it's playing now.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Ball.
Boy.
Ball.
Bird. Butterfly. Water. Bucket.
Cat.
dustbin,
That's impressive.
Wow.
Okay. See, it is so ingrained in our brain that A is for apple, B is for ball. We have been looking into the box. We've been looking at the textbook, and I think the entire generation would be answering the same if I'm not wrong. I think the exposure that she gets, the kind of people that she meets, the kind of interactions that she has, I observed there are teachers who go out of the way to tell certain things. I still think of him as a kid, so I, stick to very basics. But then, like, I tell him shapes which are like very basics. But one fine day he just comes up and tells me like, "Mom, this is hexagon." I'm like, I was shocked. Jumpstart, the school, the learning center, everything. Jumpstart has been a fantastic choice that we made for Neil, and we're very happy about it.
At Jumpstart, I see that the kids are given a different experience. They are shown those particular things in person. They get that opportunity to maybe touch it, understand it, and that's how they remember it properly.
So I couldn't imagine a 4-year-old kid telling me what photosynthesis is all about.
So when we started with Jumpstart, what I saw is she started doing things on her own.
I'm more than happy with the way she has shown the results out of that. I didn't put her on any purpose. Anyway, she would learn ABCD twinkle twinkle later also. But what she learned at the right time, I'm more than happy with that.
So that's the difference in the way our education system is working today. So here we are going to interact about this program. So looking at the situations in the world and in India, and looking at the kind of importance we need to give to our upliftment, we are offering the Early Childhood Expert Program. This is the management who is behind Jumpstart and behind this program. We have Sneha Tapadia as the CEO, Mr. Aditya Tapadia as the director, and Santosh ma'am as the director as well. Three of them have been associated with ECA for more than 12 years now, and it's about 12 years of experience that they have in handling a preschool industry. As on today, Jumpstart has 8 centers. That's because of the kind of work that the three of them have done along with the team. So the questions would be about everything that we are discussing as questions are now things that you would help you get an insight about this program and about the future here. So one of the questions that I often get is what career benefits can you expect in this industry? So the first thing in terms of safety is we are all women here. Like 95 or to 97% of people who walk into this industry in India are women, and therefore we can trust each other a little better and have a safe environment. The working hours are limited, and therefore there is a work-home balance. We as women are able to manage our houses, family time, as well as provide our best at work. The skilled teachers actually have a higher demand, and therefore the pay scale becomes healthy. This is one thing which people don't realize without actually finding out how much a teacher in demand, who is trained, is in demand. So we have a pay range. I'm giving you an industry average. A pay range for teachers in some places goes as low as 8,000, and probably a few cases even lower than that. But the highest that we have seen on a teacher pay scale has gone between 22 to 25,000 also. So it's not that the teachers are paid less. A good trained skilled teacher gets paid much better than a regular teacher, just like any other industry. There is a lot of on-field training and feedback as well. So while we are working, we get to learn. We have people who give us a feedback and help us get insights into what we can do, and therefore with every job experience you will be growing your skills and your potentials. There is a vast growth for future growth and success. I can give you examples of people who have jumped careers, who have moved from being a teacher to having their own preschool, people who have gotten into curriculum development, or people who handle the entire region of that particular brand with all their franchisees. So there are varied vacancies that are available across this industry. There is, of course, a personal satisfaction for contributing to the society. After everything, after a tiring day running around with the children, when you're just waving a goodbye, and that one smile that the child gives at you just before leaving touches the heart, and that makes us feel that wow, we have done something productive today. Of course, there are people who come back with issues and come back with problems, which happens in every industry. But at the end of the day, when we are sleeping, the experience is today I've made a difference in one child's life, and one day one child also makes a big difference. So how does it impact personal growth, and how does this industry impact families? There is a lot of scope of personality development. We have had situations and people who have moved from being an introvert to people who turn into extroverts and handle performances or seminars over a stage with a large audience. We've seen people who were hesitant at making decisions take on the roles which involved making and implying decisions as well. So there are a lot of personality changes that we would notice as a part of learning and growing in this industry. There is definitely new skill and knowledge that you would be learning and developing, which grooms you as a person. There is a lot of confidence and self-esteem which is built. We can also have a lot of understanding of how children grow, which can directly impact our own children. A parent who is aware as a teacher about what happens by when in terms of, let's say, be it teething or temper tantrums or sibling rivalry, these are common issues that parents go through. But when we are in a preschool industry and when we are trying to work with children in the class, these are topics that we handle day in and day out. We would get better at handling our own children and probably children in the family when it comes to being a part of this industry. Of course, we also get to socialize and make friends with like minded people. We may switch jobs, but the friends we make at every place stay as friends for a life. When one is teaching, there are actually two people learning. And I'm talking this from my experience. Every time I've tried to teach a child, I have learned something new about the way I can teach, the way I can do it better, the way I'm making a difference to somebody else. And there are also those aha moments where, one fine day suddenly you realize, oh, I could do this. So the easiest example I can tell you is handling puppets. For example, we all handle puppets. It's not that difficult, right? uh, in this industry, when I was new, I used to struggle with that. Like, I could easily move in and out with the puppets, but the voice modulation, the tone, it took me some time to pick that up. There was one fine day where I did a show with the children for puppets, and I got a feedback that I have done it really well, and there was no feedback for me to improve on for that particular session. And I was like, oh, I could do this. Like a year or more, I have struggled with the tone of voice, and now I have learned something new while trying to teach children. And there are many moments that we face like these in this industry. So, why should you go ahead with the early childhood expert program at Jumpstart? Number one, the curriculum is quite vast and relevant. The ones who have got a chance to scan through it, you would agree. Otherwise, you can have a look and you can get in touch with us. We are covering things that a normal teacher training program does not. To give you an example, we cover teaching methodologies. There are 25 of them, and no other teacher training program is doing more than 8 to 10. There is a lot of individual attention and support given. Wherever you are getting stuck, there is a one-on-one call when required, or during a group session, we would make sure the queries are resolved before moving forward. The structure of the program is very, very carefully thought. There are three parts to this program. There is theory content, the basic understanding that you need to be able to pick up on. There are assignments which help you implement everything that you have learned. And there are also classroom sessions where you actually get to be inside a live classroom, observe, and gradually apply what you've learned to execute sessions. So you get to all three aspects of being an expert in this industry. There is also a study life balance. The structure is such that you can work and you can do this program, or you can handle the house and do this program simultaneously. We do provide placement assistance, and people who are performing really well during this program, we are willing to absorb them in our own company as well. The projects that we are offering are the ones which will add to your expertise and they'll add value to your resume as well. So the teaching aids that you would prepare, the assignments that you would do, for example, the kind of interview questions that you plan as a part of your assignments would be things that you will be able to demonstrate when you apply for a position in any company. You will be provided with a mark sheet, a certificate of completion, as well as a recommendation letter at the end of the program, which will add to your resume and make it easier for you to pick up a job of your choice. So what is the eligibility criteria? The minimum education that we expect is a 12th pass. We expect that you're well versed with English language. If you're already a graduate or if you have already picked up on this industry, it is great. We definitely want to look out for people who are passionate to work for children and are not doing the program only to get a certificate. If what matters to you is having a certificate with the resume, this is not the right program, because this program requires you to take efforts to fulfill the assignments and to put in your best to pick up on everything that is being covered. And the seats are available on first come first serve basis. We do not take more than 10 at a time. That 10 is the maximum, and whoever is registering first gets a priority seat. So here is a little example of the syllabus that is covered. These are again introductory topics. There are a lot of details that go inside each. So I'll just highlight quickly. The first subject is everything to do with starting your own school. So if you have to start a school or if you are in an administrative position, you need to know the basics of how this industry works, which rights need to be implemented when we are inside a preschool setup, what kind of meals to be planned for children, how do you administer school. So that includes the hiring and training of staff, that includes inventory processes, financial management, everything. This subject would also include the kind of licensing you will need if you have to start your own school, the kind of infrastructure planning, financing, etc. And it ends with a soft skill enrichment, because anybody who is in this particular part of the preschool industry needs to be a leader who can motivate and work with the entire team. So soft skills would be everything to do with handling the team, shifting our personality, etc. The second part, teaching pedagogies and methodologies, has the 25 theories that we were talking about. Now, these theories are concepts or ideas that have been shared by people of this industry years ago, which till date decide how the curriculum is being planned. So, for every aspect of development, there are 5 to 6 theories, and these theories actually suggest what should be done at what age, how do we teach a particular concept, what kind of an environment should it be in the school, etc. Then we move on to the third subject, which has got to do with the execution of the teaching learning process. So it includes how the regular development in children happens, and by what age, what do you expect, how should we support in terms of the environment, etc. Then comes the curriculum planning. How do you decide what should be the curriculum? How do you plan a timetable for children? And how do you write lesson plans? Then we move on to preparing for a classroom session. So if you already have a lesson plan and you have to execute it, let's say 2 days later, what kind of preparations you need to do beforehand? We are going to cover about 27 to 28 types of activities that you conduct with the children. So that includes art and craft activities, that includes teaching them alphabets, numbers, that includes team stations. So there's a variety of things, storytelling, music and movement, rhyme sessions, etc. So we'll be covering that and we'll be demonstrating how to do this. Then comes the teaching aids, something that all the teachers would have heard about. So how do you prepare teaching aids? Which teaching aids is best used for what purpose? How do you use them well? All of it is going to be covered here. And then we have the documentation and assessment of children. How do you know if the child is progressing or not? What are the different methods that we can use to document their progress? Which method to be used for what purpose, etc. We would also have interpersonal skills as a part of our fourth subject. So with children, it is about how do you interact with the children, how do you appreciate, when do you discipline, how do you deal with difficult children, etc. Dealing with preschooler habits is about the typical habits that you will find some child or the other in your class dealing with. Somebody might be struggling with toilet training, somebody might be having tantrums, somebody might be biting and hitting and scratching others, somebody might be scratching their heads too frequently, somebody might be refusing to share their toys. So how do you support children at that age to be able to pick up on these behaviors is a part of dealing with preschooler habits. Lastly, it is about parents and parent partnership. So what kind of involvement you have with the parents? What are the options available? How much control to keep by the school? How much control to give to the team or to the parents? How do you report an unwanted incident that happened in the school? So if there's an accident, how do you communicate that to the parents in an effective way? If the child is not progressed, how do you communicate that in an effective way? So all of that would be about parents. This also includes how do you handle inquiries and how do you help make admissions. So if you choose to be a counselor or the center manager, you would need these skills. And lastly, early intervention and care is all about special needs, about children who need attention in a different way of teaching because of their special requirements. So we would be covering all of this in the syllabus. This is going to be the schedule for the upcoming batch, which starts on 1st June. It's a 3-month program and it's going to be online considering the lockdown situation. However, in these 3 months, all the lectures that we put in right now on screen would be online. The assignments would happen online, but the 1 month internship would be conducted once schools resume. Unfortunately, we are not in the right shape to be able to predict a date, but once the schools resume to their physical self, we would be having a 1 month session when you join one of our centers and conduct an internship, which gives you inside the classroom practicals with us. We would also be having additional webinar sessions. So webinars are occasions where different speakers of the industry come together and share their knowledge on different topics that will help a whole industry. So our attempt is to try and get you to speak to a variety of speakers and get knowledge from all the people possible. Also, like I told you, internship happens after the physical schools. So what if you miss a particular lecture? Let's say you didn't have internet, a particular was an electricity issue. So this is how we operate when you miss a classroom. You definitely gets the notes for self-study, so you have to read them. We would be having hand-holding sessions at different intervals or at the end of the program, depending on the need, where whatever part you have not understood or you're clear about is what will be clarified. uh, the hand-holding sessions are special sessions meant to be able to support only the ones who are struggling or the ones who have missed out on something and need help. So it's not necessary that every is a part of this session. These sessions are scheduled on request. So you will have to put a request if you want are going to discuss on a particular topic. So will the exams also be conducted online? This is a common question that so there are different ways in which we conduct assessments while you are a part of this program. So there are written exams which will happen once the physical schools start, or at least once when we staff members are allowed to visit the schools. So we would be having written papers for that. We need online quiz which happens for 20 marks per subject. This happens probably around a week after the subject is completely taught. So it's fresh in your minds. And this has a Google form link. So it's like a survey that you fill with the right answers and you are given scores on the same day. So there would be about 100 marks for the online quiz, which would be happening during the online sessions itself. There are going to be projects and assignments, which would be emailed to you. You would be doing the assignments and submitting them back to me via email. Most of these assignments are over a document which can be easily handled on a computer or a laptop. So that is how the projects work, and every projects will have and marks also which add to your sheet. And lastly, the classroom practicals. So while you are on your internship and you are doing sessions with the children, you will be observed and you will be given marks for the way you conduct sessions as well. Upon completion of the program, all these add up to your final mark sheet. And yes, as discussed earlier, you get a completion certificate, a mark sheet, and recommendation letter. So we have questions like, is there a guarantee for getting a job 1%? Uh, we do offer an opportunity to hire you in our institute immediately. However, these are the things to consider. This is our preference. If we have trained somebody, we have trained them to adapt to a role in our institute itself. There are selection criteria which needs to be passed on by the candidate as well. So the English language needs to be really well. Performance during the participation in the program is considered, the amount of attendance, the way the projects and the quizzes are handled, etc. You would be checking on feedback received from superiors during internship. So when you report a particular center for internship, the center head at that center would give feedback. And you would be a part of the interview process where the HR would be interviewing with you. So with these four conditions, we are willing to hire our own team members and our own candidates. So what are the future scope of work after this program? What all can be done? So you can definitely be a better parent, as parenting it immediately helps you in your own families. You can become a teacher, the bare minimum we can do with regards to a job in this industry. You can work in the administration team or in the curriculum development team of a preschool. You may think of owning a franchisee of a preschool or maybe even start your own preschool. So these are a variety of options available for you after this program. And definitely you can be an entrepreneur who chooses not to work for quota, but you can start your own classes, probably a phonics class or probably activity center for children, or you could get into consultancy wherein you design lesson plans for some other school without taking the job but on some profit basis. So those options are available. So I would want to share a few testimonials here of the participants who have done this program so that you get an insight into what it was like for them to be a part of this program. Let's have a look.
Shruti. I'm a student of Early Childhood Program. The program was well executed and planned. The notes are in detail and were easy to study. The program is not only about becoming a teacher, but it will help you to understand your child better. I also got some hands-on experience working in a school, and the program was overall amazing. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shubhra. I have enrolled in EC online program. This, Hi, I'm Shubhra. I have enrolled in EC online program. It's a crash course and it's almost coming to an end now. And I must say the journey so far has been rewarding and knowledgeable. There are a variety of topics to learn through different topics and concepts, relevant topics, which gives us the insight of how the school works and also helps us in understanding how to conduct the classes smoothly. Now, with Heta ma'am teaching us, there are many tips that she shares with us. Also, Heta ma'am makes sure that unless and until you understand the topic well, she does not move forward. Now, after completing each topic, there are assignments, there are quizzes, which help us further in understanding the topic better. If you're looking for a career in early childhood, or even as a teacher who wants to upgrade their skill, and I think this is and if you want to use your time productively in such a situation, then I think you should try the EC online program by Jumpstart, which is one of the best options. So do give it a shot. Thank you. Hi, I'm Shubha.
Hello everyone, I am Dipti Chari. I had enrolled myself for Jumpstart EP crash course which was conducted online and I found it to be very useful. I have learned many teaching pedagogies which are really interesting and motivating for one's teaching career. After every module, the assignments and feedback are useful to understand the clarity of the concept. I learned many new things which I had never heard of. I feel each and every teacher who wants to develop their career in early education should undertake this course. I'm sure that this course will definitely help me to enhance my skills as well as my career in the teaching profile.
I would like to thank Jafsar International Preschool and my teacher, Heta Merchant, who constantly guided me and explained the concepts to me, thus helping me to enhance my skills. Do go for it. Thank you.
So these were a few of my students. We do have some more testimonials as well. This is by Saili, who says that she has actually found the course to be very, very informative and was a knowledge gaining experience. She says the notes provided during the course were easy to understand and had good examples. She's gained confidence in the teaching skills, and all the areas or all the lessons were covered promptly. She says that I highly recommend this teaching institute to everyone who is passionate and serious in completing the teaching journey. We have Sarita, who has a long message to say. You may want to glance through it, but she essentially says that each day was a new learning for me, and I'm sure it will definitely help me evolve on many aspects of being a preschool educator. Uh, in this 2 month process, I have gained an understanding about a plethora of teaching methodologies. She says she has actually appreciated me as well, and I thank her for that. So she says, I can see and feel the change in me from a regular educator to a fully trained and confident one. This has helped me become excited about what I was learning as well as kept me consistently engaged. We have Mrunal as well, who says, I learned a lot from this course, right from how to deal with toddlers and young kids, their tantrums, how to understand their problems, behaviors related to their eating habits and dietary needs, etc. She says the course offers assignments to ensure that you are learning about understanding all the points, and it helps both ways in personal and professional life, as it guides you in being a better teacher or mother or anyone who wishes to understand children's psychology. So these are the kind of feedbacks we get when we have people completing this program. To end what I had to say, we are not just teachers, we are actually the managers of the world's greatest resource, which is children. And this is what we do when we get better at handling early childhood. So, are you ready? So, these are the places you can reach out to us if at all you have to get in touch with us and know more about this program, or you would want to get associated with us in some way. I'm going to pause here for a while and check if you have any questions that you need me to address. You may type in your questions in the chat box, or you may raise your hand for us to be able to unmute you. So I just wanted to check if there's anything that you would want to pass out to me. Shruti, could you just help me with if anybody has any questions?
Sure. Shilpa or Naomi, do you have any questions?
I think they are They are muted. Can we unmute them and check?
Sure. Let me just. So Heta teacher, we have a question on chat box for you from Shilpa. She wants to know the charges.
Sure. So Shilpa, we do need your email ID access, and we'll be putting in all the details via email to you with regard to the payment options as well as the amount and how the structure is going to be like.
Okay, no problem.
Sure.
Naomi, do you have any questions? You're unmuted. Okay, so Heta, she doesn't have any questions. She's fine.
No issues at all. With any questions, doubts, you may always feel free to reach out to us again. I'll just share my screen once again so you have our contact details, and I hope to see you soon very often. Thank you so much and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.